Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's afternoon devotional and Bible study for January 16th, 2021. Today, we're going to be reading Jesus' calling for the day, but also we will be jumping into the book of Samuel, chapter 2. I'm excited to go through that. It's up there with one of my favorite narratives in the Bible. There's a lot of twists and turns and big epic movie moments. So it's easy to kind of get lost in the story of Samuel, and there's so much in it. But for now, we're going to jump into Jesus is calling for today. January 16th. Come to me and rest in my loving presence. You know this day will bring difficulties, and you are trying to think of your way through those trials. As you anticipate what is ahead of you, you forget that I am with you, now and always. Rehearsing your troubles results in experiencing them many times, whereas you are meant to go through them only when they actually occur. Do not multiply your suffering in this way. Instead, come to me and relax in my peace. I will strengthen you and prepare you for this day, transforming your fear into confident trust. And that was inspired by two different sections of the Bible. The first, Matthew 18:28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Hi, Tracy. Welcome. And the second is Joshua 1:5-9. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that was Joshua 1, 5 and 9. I like that. So often we have a tendency to just rehearse and go over and over and over and over again the mistakes that were made, and we just sit there and we get lost and we wallow in that, and it's just multiplying our suffering. But God offers to take that, share it with him, and he'll help us carry that. And that verse about come all you weary is one that I've leaned a lot on, especially during this pandemic. And sometimes it feels guilty to take a rest or to do this or that or the other. And yep, I totally forgot to turn off my ringer. Sorry about that. Ringer is now off, which is good timing. I am parked across 3 spots right now, so every time a car comes in, I'm like, But that's such a good background. I like that background. So we're going to be jumping into the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel. It starts off with a prayer from Hannah that we talked about yesterday, who was bullied by, I believe it was her sister, because she couldn't have kids, and then she prayed, and people thought she was drunk to have kids, and then the priest was like, oh yeah, if you're just praying, go, you do you. Then she had a kid, and she dedicated it to God, and then we're going to go into Hannah's prayer here, and this kind of sets up the themes for the rest of 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. So it's kind of an interesting little section here. I believe that's the section that kind of just foreshadows the rest of the book. So without further ado, let's get started in 1 Samuel chapter 2. Then Hannah prayed, my heart rejoices in the Lord. The Lord has made me strong. Now I have an answer for my enemies. I rejoice because you rescued me. No one is holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. Stop acting so proud and haughty. Don't speak with such arrogance, for the Lord is a God who knows what you have done. He will judge your actions. The bow of the mighty is now broken, and those who stumble are now strong. Those who were well fed are now starving, and those who are starving are now well fed. The childless woman now has 7 children, and the woman with many children wastes away. The Lord gives both death and life, and he brings some down to the grave, but rises others up. The Lord makes some poor and others rich. He brings some down and lifts others up. He lifts the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump. He sets them among princes, placing them in seats of honor. For all the earth is the Lord's, and he has set the world in order. He will protect his faithful ones, but the wicked will disappear in darkness. No one will succeed by strength alone. Those who fight against the Lord will be scattered. He thunders against them from heaven. The Lord judges throughout the earth. He gives power to his king. He increases the strength of his anointed one. Then Elkanah returned home to Rimmon without Samuel, and the boy served the Lord by assisting Eli the priest, Eli's wicked sons. Now, the sons of Eli were scoundrels who had no respect for the Lord or for their duties as priest. Whenever anyone offered a sacrifice, Eli's sons would send over a servant with a three-pronged fork. While the meat of the sacrificed animals was still boiling, the servant would stick the fork into the pot and demand whatever it brought up to be given to Eli's sons. All the Israelites who came to worship at Shilhal were treated this way. Sometimes the servants would come even before the animal's fat had been burned on the altar. He would demand raw meat before it had been boiled so that it could be used for roasting. The man offering the sacrifice might reply, "Take as much as you want, but the fat must be burned first." Then the servant would demand, "No, give it to me now, or I'll take it by force." So the sin of these young men was very serious in the Lord's sight, for they treated the Lord's offering with contempt. But Samuel, though he was only a boy, served the Lord. He wore a linen garment like that of a priest. Each year his mother made a small coat for him and brought it to him when she came with her husband for the sacrifice. Before they returned home, Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, "May the Lord give you other children to take the place of this one she gave to the Lord." And the Lord blessed Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. Now Eli was very old, but he was aware of what his sons were doing. So the people of Israel, he knew, for instance, that his sons were seducing the young women who assisted at the entrance of the tabernacle. Eli said to them, "I have been hearing reports from all the people about wicked things you are doing. Why do you keep sinning? You must stop, my sons. The reports I hear among the Lord's people are not good. If someone sins against another person, God can mediate for the guilty party. But if someone sins against the Lord, who can intercede?" But Eli's sons wouldn't listen to their father, for the Lord was already planning to put them to death. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew taller and grew in favor with the Lord and with the people. A warning for Eli's family. One day, a man of God came to Eli and gave him this message from the Lord. "I revealed myself to your ancestor when they were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt. I chose your ancestor Aaron from among all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer sacrifices on my altar, to burn incense, and to wear the priestly vest as he served me. And I assigned the sacrificial offerings to you priests. So why do you scorn my sacrifices and offerings? Why do you give your sons more honor than you give me for you? And they have become fat from the best offerings of my people Israel. Therefore, the Lord, the God of Israel, says, I promised that your branch of the tribe of Levi would always be my priests, but I will honor those who honor me, and I will despise those who think lightly of me. The time is coming when I will put an end to your family, so it will no longer serve as my priests. All the members of your family will die before their time. None will reach old age. You will watch with envy as I pour out prosperity on the people of Israel, but no members of your family will ever live out their days. The few not cut off from serving at my altar will survive, but only their eyes can go blind and their hearts break, and their children will die violent deaths. And to prove that what I have said will come true, I will cause your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, to die on the same day. Then I will rise up a faithful priest who will serve me and do what I desire. I will establish his family, and they will be priests to my anointed kings forever. Then all of your serving families will bow before him, begging for money and food. Please, they will say, give us jobs, give us jobs among the priests, so we will have enough to eat. And God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Hey, Blue. We just finished reading through 1 Samuel chapter 2. So this is also kind of establishing, getting ready to foreshadow a few different things in here. But there was a couple things that kind of go directly related to the New Testament. So I'm going to read those things out, and then I'll kind of take some of the things that kind of jumped out at me. So 1 Samuel 2:26. Then Hannah prayed, my heart rejoices in the Lord. The Lord has made me strong. Now I have an answer for my enemies. I rejoice because you rescued me. Here, Samuel is described as growing in stature and in favor with the Lord and with the people. Sorry, that's the wrong thing. Sorry, 1 Samuel 2:1. Here, Hannah's prayer of praise is much like Mary's song of praise, or magnificent. After she discovered she can be chosen to bear the Son of God. Often these two songs are use the same wording. Luke 1:46-55, and then 1 Samuel 2:26. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew taller and grew in favor with the Lord and with the people. Here, Samuel is described as growing in stature, in favor with the Lord and with the people. Later, Luke makes a reference to this description when he says that Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and all the people. Luke 2:52. So some nice kind of foreshadowing there. And there's a couple things in here. One of the things that kind of for our daily walk is before Jesus, so Eli's sons, they were doing things and they were breaking the laws. They were interfering a lot with how people would interact with God and seek forgiveness and seek and be reconciled to God. They interfered with that, and God was like, no, I'm cutting this off. And we see Jesus also later on, he flips the tables of the money changers, people that are getting in the way between God and the people, right? God is all about eliminating the barriers between you and him, eliminating the hurdles that we have to jump. And we just read in Philippians how all those hurdles are utter garbage. If you want to come to God, he made it easy now. After Jesus died on the cross, the curtain ripped and the Holy Spirit came into, like, we have access to the Holy Spirit. We have access to pray. We have, like, God is with us. Those barriers and those walls are broken down. Bibles are now written in your language. You can read the word yourself. You don't have to trust the words of some scholar that spent years and years studying the words of the Bible in order to have that one, because there's only like one for, like, you know, a country or whatever it is. I don't know exactly how it broke down, but it used to only be in one language. But one of the brilliant things about the Bible is it was written in multiple languages. Three languages make up the Bible, and it's now translated into, like, every language. The Bible is meant for everybody. The barriers between you and God is something that he takes very seriously. And here, he takes it really seriously with Eli's sons. Eli pleads, but their hearts are hardened. And God's like, it's okay. I'm already going to kill them. I'm going to let them know. And they're not going to care. Which is a really sad thing. But now that we have Jesus, there's hope and redemption. Even greater than there was back here. Which I think is really cool. And I need to sneeze. Phew! Sorry. So that's one of the things I got out of this. Yeah, and then, like, he warns him and he lays it out. And God says he's going to keep his promise, but he's going to honor those who honor him. Right? Which is an interesting thing as well. Because he's going to lift up Samuel, and that's already kind of foreshadowed. And then we also have, like, David coming into the story and King Saul coming into the story. And things are going to get crazy. And one of the hardest things to read happens in the scripture. And like, it's really challenging, and it's just so messy. And God enters into it. And I'm going to foreshadow a little bit here and why this is one of those books, and why I do really feel like it fits following the book of Philippians that we just read. Is David, 2 times off the top of my head, when his enemies die that were literally trying to kill him, that were trying to murder him, that set up traps for him, he mourns for them. He mourns for his enemies. And time again, he doesn't defeat his enemies with violence. But he, in some ways, love. He's like, hey, I had the opportunity to kill you and I didn't do it. Because the world is better. God is using you. The world is better with you in it. And I've always really, really liked that about this book. And we see God's heart throughout the book. And like I said, Hannah's prayer is one of those things that kind of foreshadows. Stop acting so proud and haughty. And we see that with, we'll be seeing that with King Saul. Don't speak with such arrogance, for the Lord knows what you have done. He will judge your actions. The bow of the mighty have broken. Those who stumble are now strong. David is this guy that's small and he's stumbling, and then he's strong and he beats Goliath. And so we see these foreshadowings and these themes in Hannah's prayer. They kind of get echoed throughout the books. Those who are well fed are now starving, and those who are starving are now full. The childless woman now has 7 children, and the woman with many children wastes away. The Lord gives both death and life, and he brings some down to the grave, but he rises others up. The Lord makes some poor and others rich. He brings some down and lifts others up. He lifts up the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump. He sets them among princes, placing them in seats of honor. For all the earth is the Lord's, and he has set the world in order. that last part. There's some other things in here that are referencing things to come. For all the earth is the Lord's, and he has set the world in order. There's a lot of things that we might get lost in and why things are how they are. We got to trust that God is the one that has put all of this in order. And that's, in some ways, to me, speaking of how nature works in God's will too. And it's that fingerprint of everything, like God created everything, and that we see in like 1 John, right? He will protect his faithful ones, and this is like really foreshadowing King David. He will protect his faithful ones, but the wicked will disappear in darkness. No one will succeed by strength alone. And we see David not succeeding by strength alone. This, especially David. So this is David and Goliath, right? Like Goliath is the big, strong Brock Lesnar, towering muscle, I'm gonna fight the ocean and win type. And David, this scrawny little kid. He doesn't win by strength alone. He wins by smarts and intelligence. And as David grows, you see that time and time again. And so many times people misunderstand what it takes to win. And we see that in today's society too. Well, if I'm going to win, then I have to get this and I have to get that and I have to do this. And it's like, no. You're going to fall so short. You're missing love. You're missing this. You're missing that, right? And then those who fight against the Lord will be shattered. He thunders against them from heaven. The Lord judges throughout the earth. He gives power to his kings. He increases the strength of his anointed one. Once again, they don't have kings themselves yet. And we're going to see that get established. And then Elkanah returned to Rome without Samuel. The boy served the Lord by assisting Eli the priest. So that's kind of it for today. And once again, like we see how God works is in the mess of our lives, in the mess of our families. So often we can just be so fixated with kind of what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? And I'm now getting it playing in with this other stuff. But if we just focus on God, he'll guide us, he'll direct us, and those mistakes that we make, we can just give to God and we can move forward and we can trust that God has put things in order. We don't have to sit there and just fixate on the mistakes and get frustrated in this, that, and the other and go, there is a greater plan at work and I get to play a role in it. So yeah, anyways, let me pray. And I'll let you guys get on with your weekend. And thank you so much for joining. AJC, awesome. Jesus Christ. Thank you for the book of Samuel. For the lessons that are later at the beginning and how we get to see those themes kind of work their way throughout the entire book. And I know I talked a lot about David and Goliath. David, the man after God's own heart, and the three main characters of this book being Samuel, Saul, and David, and knowing how their stories interact and the drama that's about to take place as we read through these books. I thank you that the Bible's written in these different styles too. There was the teaching of Philippians that we just read, but now there's this biblical, this historical narrative where we get to pause and just go through the journey of these guys' lives. I think that the Bible's not just written in one way, but there's so many different ways to read and understand and appreciate what's happening. And this is written kind of like a traditional book, and it's broken down into two books because it was too big for just one scroll, too big for just one night, the WrestleMania theme. Yeah, Lord, I thank you for even how you structured these things. You've laid out the plans and what you want us to learn in this book. That you are in control. that you're going to protect and help to prosper people, not necessarily by worldly ways and understanding, but I pray that you can help our hearts find and be guided and molded into appreciating spiritual successes, things that really bring real victory, not these hollow earthly ones. You can win in a video game by cheating, but it's so pointless and empty. Yeah, sure, you might have accomplished taking that checkbox off, but that becomes all it is. And it can become this hollow, empty fixation and drive that just is meaningless. Lord, help us find the meaning in life, that it's not just all about these things. And let us lay our mistakes in the past, leave them with you, share them with you, and help us carry them, Lord. Let us come to you in rest and in fellowship. Let us come to you with hope and to move when you ask us to move and to take a break when you want us to take a break. May we be able to be in tune with your frequency. Lord, you are awesome. I thank you so much for the ability to read your word with all my friends here. And thank you very much. Amen. Hi, Ryan. I don't know if you're still here, but I saw that you popped in. Hopefully things are going good. Hopefully you get a chance to watch the Rumble too, because I'm hoping that it's going to be really good. But anyways, have a great day. Oh, and hi, other Ryan. You're tuning in right at the very end. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be back on Monday. Later. God bless.